Today we're going to be doing some pickling. This is actually my third try at pickling. Now, so far I think I've been successful, at least in the methodology, in the warm water bath, the modification of the equipment. I did 4-cup jars and 3-quart jars. The first sealing test worked. It doesn't pop up and down. The vacuum seal doesn't pop up and down. The second one worked. Just lightly pulling on the vacuum seal, it stays in place. Now this first batch were 1 ingredient recipes. Pickling cucumbers, a sweet brine mixture, and 1 ingredient. This one, fennel, bay leaf, peppercorn, allspice, and cloves. The quart jars, same species of cucumber, but I did cloves and garlic. Allspice, peppercorn, and garlic. Cloves, peppercorn, and garlic. Now, I have no idea how the recipes are going to turn out. All I know is the modification of the equipment worked. Now, for the bath, I'm using this old pot. Traditionally, we use this thing for making corn. Probably came from my grandmother's house. I've got a screen base with some little squares of screen. What this does is it keeps the jars off the bottom of the pot. Now, to keep some separation between the jars, I put together this little trifold of tin snips. Today I'm going to be using the smaller cup and pint-sized jars. I found that these jars fit very nicely in this arrangement. I'm using methodology from epicurious.com. The author is Joe Sevier, and the article is from August 11th, 2017. How to can pickles step by step. First step, fill a large pot with hot water. Submerge the canning jars in hot water. Bring the water to boil over high heat and immediately turn off the heat. Leave the jars submerged until you're ready to use them. Gather and trim the cucumbers. Trim the blossom and the stem off because it can cause bitterness in the pickle. I'm going to leave the skins on. I'll cut these things up into spears. With these smaller jars, I'm going to have to cut them in half and just kind of cram as much stuff as I can in there. Then I make the pickle brine. The recipe I'm using is 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 cups of white vinegar, 2 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of pickling salt, and bring that to a boil to make sure everything's in solution. Pour it into the filled jars. Now I found that this will make 5 cup-size or pint-sized jars. For ingredients, I'm going to be using peppercorn, cloves, allspice, chives, thyme. I had to buy the chives in the time. I didn't have them in the garden. Who has time for thyme? And I picked some fresh herbs from the garden. If you've seen one of my earlier posts, you'll recognize that this is my little greenhouse. My swing set greenhouse. Let's see, what is this? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and oregano. Okay, this is rosemary. So you use some rosemary, some sage, oregano, and basil. Mint. Will mint work in pickling? Why not? Give it a try. Try everything. And we're also going to use green bell pepper I picked fresh from the garden, and the sweet banana peppers I also picked fresh from the garden. My first go around with the small cup jars, I used this rack. Now this rack I think is made more for the quart jars. The cup jars just go right through it. So I modified it, put this screen on it, and this little piece of copper ground wire. And I used this old water bath. Now, this is the wrong water bath for pickling. I can't find the other one. When I unpacked my grandmother's pickling jars and her pickling kit, that she packed up probably 1971. She passed away in 1972. I found this at the antique store. It fit, it worked. It took forever to bring to a boil on that stove. Okay, I've got all my my stock cut up. Green peppers, sweet banana peppers, and cucumbers, pickling cucumbers. Never, and I mean never, put a hot jar on a cold stone surface. That's why I'll have all of these cutting boards and my pizza board. What I'm going to do is pull it out of the water bath, pour the excess back into the water bath, and place the jar on the board. No need to dry them out. They'll self-dry, fully sterilized. I don't boil the rings or the vacuum lids in the solution. And this particular methodology mentions that some of the manufacturers of the lids say that the lids can deform and affect your seat if you boil them. So next step is to stuff these things full of the vegetables. Next we put in the brine solution. Now with a spatula, knife, or whatever you have on hand, you want to just kind of gently run it along the sides of the jar. You want to try to squeeze out as many of the air bubbles as you can. I mean, the canning process will drive the air out of the solution anyways. Since this is a sugar solution, I want to wipe the rim here off. And always buy new lids. Always buy new vacuum lids. Never use the same one over again. Rings you can just keep using over and over again. At this stage in the game, you do not want to over tighten these. Just hand tight the rings. You want to be able to drive the air out of the solution while it cooks in the bath. And put these guys back in the bath. And there's about an inch of water on top of the jars. That's another one they suggest. So once that starts boiling, we will set the timer 10 minutes. I have to let them set for 24 hours, and that's when we do the seal test. But they're already popping in, so I think they're pretty sure they're sealed. The vacuum lids looks like they're popping down already. I was just experimenting with recipes. I don't know how these are going to turn out. All I know is the methodology worked, the water bath worked, and everything passed the vacuum seal test. So they're pickled, they're sealed, and over the course of the winter I'll be poisoning myself probably. But everything worked.